Hello and welcome. I am QX and welcome to the Windows install for Rosen Watcher app on the Ergo platform. For those of you that don't know, Ergo is a proof of work blockchain, which means we secure our network with mining as opposed to things like Cardano, who secure it with staking mechanisms. We're going to try to make this as fast as we can and as painless as possible for all of you, because I know a lot of you are probably on Windows instead of Linux or something like that. We'll speed up through the installs to make it really quick for you, but all the links in this video will be in the description for you to click on and go from there. So let's dive right in. Pardon me, I'm on a remote desktop here, so stuff might not be quite as snappy as that, but it is a local desktop just behind my main machine. But I'm remoting into it. Here we go. So you'll notice that I have three tabs right open off the top. I have Git, I have Docker, and I have the Operation Watcher Deploy Docs instructions for Docker, for the Watcher built-in Docker from Rosen team. So we're going to start off by downloading the 64-bit Git Windows setup right here. It's a pretty quick download. Then we will download the Docker desktop app, which I've already done. It's a little bit bigger of a download, so I didn't do it during the video. And we're just going to go right to our downloads folder next. And we are going to run, let me delete this so you're not confused about that. Right here, we want Git, and we need to sort by date modified. There we go. So we'll do the Git install first. Let's give it a double click. And we are presented with the menu here. Most of the time, we're not going to have to do anything. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, you can switch it to Notepad++ if you have it. I don't have it on here, so we'll just keep it as the Vim or Nano. We're not going to be editing in Git, so it doesn't really matter at this point. Let Git decide is fine. Recommended there is fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. There's quite a few options here. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Doesn't matter. Yep. No, don't need those. And we'll let it go through its install. This is a pretty quick install. If you already have like command line or PowerShell open, please close that, just so sometimes when you do a mid install that's going to be used in the terminal for libraries, sometimes it doesn't make that connection until you actually reboot the terminal or reboot command prompt or PowerShell. We're going to be using PowerShell for this. Okay, we don't need to launch Git Bash. We don't need to review notes. We're going to head right to the Docker desktop installer. Now this installer is a little bit bulkier. It's going to take a little bit, so I will most likely fast forward through this, unless for some miracle that it goes fast here. We'll see what happens. A word of warning: if you are on an older version of Windows 10, I believe, yeah, I'm on Windows 10 here. I'm going to hit OK through this. If you're on an older version of Windows 10, you may get some errors here that say you need to upgrade. If you've done Windows updates all the way to where you can't upgrade anymore and it's still saying that, like you're on 19.040, and it's, I think the error is you need 19.041 or something, 0.1. There is a KB download for a standalone update that will trigger you to be able to do that. You just Google it. It's really quick to find. Just say can't get past 1904 or upgrade 1904 to 1904.1 or something like that. And it'll take you there. You may also get a .NET error that you might need .NET installed. The quickest way that I installed .NET is I go to Night, night.com. This is an amazing tool that lets you just download a bunch of stuff with one click and do the install right, scripted silent installs. So most likely it'll need .NET Runtime 6 point something, perhaps, or even 4.8. So essentially you just click those guys. Feel free to click whatever else you want to install too. You go down, you say Git Night. It will download a little shortcut installer. You run that, it essentially does all that stuff that you've asked it to do in a silent install. Then you can go back to Docker and try to install that and see if it works. We're still going here. On a slow computer, this could take a good 10 or so minutes, and it likes to ask for a reboot after that. We'll see if we can get through it without a reboot. Probably not. I'll probably have to fast forward the video here, but we shall see. Okay, we've been asked to close and restart. Let's do it. Okay, here we are back at the welcome screen, and we'll log back in after that reboot. Docker immediately comes up with a terms acceptance, so I expect you all are going to read these full terms, right? And if you agree, please accept it. And it might launch Docker. We're going to use recommended settings, which is fine. And it's going to ask for admin, of course. Welcome to Docker. We're going to continue without signing in. We're going to skip this, and it's going to start the Docker engine. Now, this does not start by default when you boot up Windows. I'm sure there's a way to make this a service in the preferences and make it start by default. When Docker starts up, it should automatically start your Docker instances after we install them. So that's okay. That's easy too. So if you want Docker to start up automatically, set it to start up automatically, and then it will start your watcher automatically once it starts up. And you'll see once this happens. We can actually, let's see, it's starting it. That should be okay. So we don't have any Docker containers added to it right now, so it's not doing anything. But we've installed Git, right? And we've installed Docker. And let me see if I can bring my old tabs up. There we go. Okay. And we are back to this. Let's check on Docker, see how that's going. That may take a little bit. That's okay. I think we can still run some Docker commands to actually get some stuff while this is working in the background. We'll check on it every once in a while. All right, moving on. It is telling us that we need to clone the operation repository and navigate to this. So all that means is we are going to use the tool we downloaded called Git, and it's going to grab this package right here on the left, bring it down to our computer. So what we need to do is I am going to create a new folder on the desktop. I'm going to call it Rosen Watcher. Great. I am then going to jump into PowerShell, and that's just by typing power into the start menu. And we can see Windows PowerShell right here. And I'm going to open it up. Let's put it over here. Remember, we have that. So it's most likely if we ran it as our user and we didn't choose run as administrator, I don't think I ran it as administrator in the last one. You don't have to run this as administrator. Windows is a little different than Linux with those kind of admin prompt commands. So you notice it puts us in the user folder of this computer that I'm in, which is my performance Nook. So if we type ls, which is actually a Linux command that PowerShell can use as well, we'll see that we need to get on the desktop folder. So we're going to type cd desktop. Now we're on the desktop folder. We type ls again, and you'll see I can see my Docker, Rosen Watcher folder right there. So we're going to cd into that, which cd stands for change directory. And if I start typing Rosen and I hit tab, you can see that it autofills it if it's a match. So you'll see that we hit ls and Rosen Watcher is now still empty because we haven't put anything in. So now, hopefully, Git was installed correctly, and we are going to grab this text right here, and we are going to clone that Git. We should just need to right-click in PowerShell, and it takes it. Here we go, Git clone. And it looks like it's good. Now watch what happens when I hit ls. Ooh, we've got an operations folder. So it wants us to change directory, cd, and get inside that operations folder as well as a watcher folder inside that. So let's do that. We can either copy that or we can do it manually like this. cd space oper, and we hit tab, operation, and then we type in wa and watcher. So there we go. Hit enter. Now we are inside the Rosen Watcher operation watcher folder. If you want to double check how that looks visually, we open up Rosen Watcher. We can see that that folder exists. And inside there's a watcher folder. And there, right there, see those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 files? We hit ls here. There's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 files. So we have a, let's see what the next thing is. Next, it wants us to create our environment file based on the template. So what this does is it allows us to have a template that's always kind of the base so we don't forget what we came from if we mess up our environment file. And we go from there. Windows, I don't think, I'm going to show you an error that you might get. I'm going to go to View, I'm going to go to File Name Extensions, I'm going to go to View, I'm going to go to Show Hidden Items, just in case. So we are going to copy this. We're going to try this in Windows, which I don't think it'll let me. I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to rename this to .environment. Will it let me? Oh, it will let me. You know, in an older version of Windows, it never used to let you do that. So now we have our .env file, which was a copy of the template. We can ignore this command. We don't have to do that in the terminal, so don't worry about that step, okay? Because we're doing it right here in the GUI. If there is an issue, and I'll show you, let's delete that. Where's my delete button? Do I have a delete on this keyboard? We'll do this. Okay, we should be able to take this as well. We can copy it here. And I believe PowerShell will take this command no problem. Same exact thing happened. Now watch, we refresh. There it is. So you can do it either way. You can do it in the GUI or you can do it right through there. So what it wants us to do is it wants us to set some parameters in this environment file. Essentially, it's asking for Postgres password, Postgres user, a database name. We don't have to change the port, and we don't have to change anything. So all we have to change are these three things right here. It's semi-important that you do stuff that you're not going to forget, or else back up the environment file to make it easier in case something happens. But here we go. We're going to go back to here. And I believe do they tell you that they want you to do it in Nano? No, they don't. So we're going to do it right in Notepad because we're in Windows, and if we're in Windows, we might as well use the easy stuff, right? So here we go. Right-click this, open with, and we're just going to choose more apps. We're going to find Notepad. It doesn't matter. You can say always open with. That should be fine. And then it turns on to Notepad icon, so whenever you double-click it, it goes there. Okay, so Postgres password, we're going to just make it Rosen demo pass, Postgres user demo, and the database is simple as that. All right, and you don't if you're thinking, wait, I have to actually create a database, don't I? No, that's what all this Docker building does. It's just going to take these parameters and do it for you. Okay, so we're just kind of telling it what to do at this step. So we'll close that window. We're good there. We've made it past this step. It's asking us to set required permissions and create a local YML file. We do not have to set required permissions, but we do have to create a local YML file. Okay. So in Windows, don't worry about this. Don't worry about this. We're just going to manually create this. And on Mac OS, don't worry about that either. Okay. So let's back out and see where they want. It says, read it, create this file in the config directory. So we'll go back to here. We'll go in the config file, and we are going to do new text document. And if you don't have, look here, if you don't have file name extensions, it's going to hide that text. So make sure you're showing file name extensions so we can properly rename it. Watch what happens if we don't do that. Let's say we create a paste. So see how we've created that? Watch really what this thing is like. You see that? So if you're not showing file extensions, then it's actually really a text file, and your whole setup's gonna fail if that's the case. So it's gonna ask us, yes, now we have a local YAML file, which is what is used to build the Docker stuff. Okay. So once again, we don't need the macOS thing. Now it is time to pull the Docker image. Okay, so we are going to go into, does it tell us what directory we want to do it in? I don't think it matters. We'll just do it in the Watcher folder. I think that's pretty much what it wants. So yes, make sure you're still in the Watcher folder from the previous instructions right here. Okay, perfect. So to pull the Docker image, we simply do docker compose pull. Let's do it. Actually, before we do that, let's double check and see how Docker is doing. Awesome. It's golden. It's up. It's running. Let's shut it down for now. Shut down. Good. So Docker compose pull, enter, and you'll see some funky stuff happening. what it's doing is it's reading the config files that it has, it's pulling the proper stuff, building it, and setting it up here. It only takes about a minute or so, I think. We'll fast forward if it takes too long. Let's read ahead while we're there. So it says Docker compose pull, set up your local YAML, which we haven't done yet. And if people skip this and they go to right to Docker compose up, they're going to mess up. It's not going to build. It's not going to run. We have to set up a local.yaml file. So while Docker is pulling in the background, and before we do Docker compose up, we are going to look down and see. Typically with these kind of instructions, they break up the entire thing. At least Rosen's technique is they break up every single thing. And then at the very end of it, there's an example of what it actually should look like right here. Okay, so we can just kind of take a shortcut and go right to the end. If we're an Ergo watcher, we are going to grab this and edit it. If we are a Cardano watcher, we are just going to go down here and grab this for here. All right, super easy. Let's go up. We're going to do this in Ergo just because that's what I've done. That's what I'm familiar with. Should work the same for both YAML files if you want. So you can read this if you'd like to. Let's see if we're done here. Yeah, we're done there. You can read this if you want to understand what's going on, but let me explain to you what this is. We're going to copy this and we're going to paste it. Remember, this is kind of the demo example file. So we're going to drop this by right-clicking in our local YAML. We're going to open with, and we're going to choose more apps, force it on Notepad always because we're Windows users, right? And we don't need no terminal or whatever. And then we're going to paste it in there. Okay, always make sure it kind of looks correct, and the spacing is fairly important too. If you have too many spaces here with indents, you could mess stuff up. So let's read the YAML file together. It's the Ergo network. Ergo next, the type of device we're using is Explorer. That's the database or the API that we're going to be hitting. Even though we list both Node and Explorer here, we could delete Node. I believe it wouldn't make a difference. As long as this says Explorer, it's only going to be taking Explorer from here. If we change this to Node, which some people do, it will take the Node instead. Now, we can essentially all we have to do is make an Ergo wallet and put in the mnemonic phrase here, which is your 15-word phrase. 15? I believe 15, yes. Just right like this, no spaces before, no spaces after, just the quotes. So it'll be like pretty dad program, let's see, soap, cart, dog, evil, cat, whatever, jerk, times whatever. So that's where your whole 15-word phrase goes in Ergo, on Ergo, not Cardano, on your Ergo wallet. Because remember, even if you're a Cardano watcher, you don't make events on Cardano. When a watcher notices an event happen on Cardano, it creates an event on Ergo. And then the guards, that notifies the guards essentially by the guards watching for those specific events. Same if you're on Ergo. You're watching Ergo, you create an event on Ergo. That's a cool thing about Rosen Bridge. It's all the events are created on Ergo, even though they're being watched on different chains. So that's security of Rosen, which is really cool. All right, so we've done that. We've left the default node in. We've left the default Explorer in. We've made no changes to this, which is perfectly fine. I would suggest after you spin it up and you get familiar with it and you're sure it's working, maybe try a different Explorer. If you have your own Explorer spun up, or you're welcome to use my Explorer as well. It's a backup Explorer on the main Ergo platform page. You can find it there. Or somebody else's Explorer. You're welcome to use that. The idea is that the more spread out we have this, there's less points of failure. So if everybody's pointing to the Ergo Explorer for this, then if that goes down, everybody goes down on the Cardano or Ergo side or whoever's pointing to it. So the idea is to spread that out, spread out the risk, and you'll have a much better experience overall for Rosen Bridge. So that's it. All we've changed is the mnemonic phrase right here, and we're going to save it. It's probably going to fail on me because well, you know what? Hang on one second. Let us do this. We're going to put a real phrase in there. Okay, so here's a real phrase right here. And I am ditching this wallet right after, so don't try to do anything with it. Perfect. Now it shouldn't fail on us. We're going to save it. We're going to close it. That's it, folks. Now ready? Now we scroll back up to where it says you're ready to run it. Finally, after saving your local changes, run the container. And we just do this. Are you ready? Let's do it. It's creating the stuff it needs to create. It's going to start them after creating them. And after that, we should be able to log into our portal and on the web and see what's up. Let's wait a minute. This last step with the UI takes a little bit longer. Not sure why, but it just does. When we're done with this last step here, and after, okay, everything's up and running. The D means that I think it stands for detach. Essentially, it detaches, it runs it, stop, and detaches you so you're not stuck watching all the logs or whatever's flying by there. So there we go. Now we can see, let me show you this first now that it's running. We should be able to open up Docker Desktop. Sometimes Windows takes 3 clicks, and you can see it's running visually here. We can put this down and we can see that all 3 things are running here. From now on, you don't even have to go to the terminal. You can simply open up Docker Desktop and it will start the thing automatically. Super simple like that. All right. So that's Watcher. We can minimize that. That's fine. We can actually close this. Now we are ready to look at our dashboard and see what's up. You ready? We're going to type 127.0.0.1 colon 3030, I believe. Boom. There's your Watcher running. We have 0 locked tokens, 0 reports, 0 Ergo wallet, 0 Rosen, and our health is broken, unfortunately. So let's go look. We're going to go to the health tab. Services stopped working due to inefficient asset Erg balance. So we have no Ergo wallet, so that's going to be red. That's normal. Ergo Scanner Sync Explorer services stop working. This takes a second to come up, okay? So give this a bit. If this still doesn't come up after about 10-15 minutes, switch to a different Explorer, see if that works. Feel free to use my Explorer, that works. And then this error just says that there are no, there are no permits in the wallet. That's all. So everything is exactly as expected. If we had ergs in our wallet, then we would see this green. You need ergs to actually do transactions, so maybe put 10-15 extra erg in addition to whatever you're going to stake there, the 800 initially. And once you do that, your permit will show up here, and after a little bit, the scanner should work. It claims that out of sync, but that's that's why. Yep. I missed a step, and let me show you that back here. I don't know if that's in the file. Let's see if that's in the file. One sec. Yeah, you see this initial height right here? See how there's 59,000 left? We can really skip past that stage. Here, let me show you. We'll go to Docker. We're going to stop this. Where's my stop button? I do not like the GUI. We're going to go to PowerShell. Let's just stop right here. We'll do the full stop up here. It takes a second to stop. Okay, we are going to go back to this. We are going to go to just Ergo platform. We'll go to My Explorer. And we're going to find the current block height. We're going to tap that in. We're going to copy it. We're going to close that, minimize that. We're going to change the initial height. All this means is it's going to start the scan at that point now. So watch what happens. We're going to hit save. We're going to then we're going to hit play on the Watcher up here. Give it a sec to start up. Again, it's going to take a second. If we open up Chrome, we can refresh, and it's going to be dead on us. Of course, nothing's going to be working until these are fully started up. Let's see. Are we running? We're still waiting on the UI. Again, that takes a little bit to do it. Almost there. 260% CPU. Makes a lot of sense. Out of 800. Okay, so now that that's started, let's refresh. And refresh this. Force a check. Go back here, let it think. Okay, back here. It's still stuck on this. Probably give this a bit. I may have had to dump the database, so maybe I'll put a note in. Nah, this is a one take. Can't put a note in, but it's fine. All it means is it's going to take a little bit to scan through all this, and you'll see those numbers go down. Not a big deal. Okay. Once that goes down and catches up to scanning, then those will turn green as well. Okay. Your next step here is to go to lock, and let me explain quickly how this works. In order to be a watcher, you need to stake 800 ergs and 30,000.001 Rosen. That is a base, okay? That is a base to say, I want to be a watcher, so I'm going to stake this into the smart contract. Now, in order to report, you need to purchase permits, essentially. And if you listen to the dev update that came out on 8th, what's today, the 8th, 9th, 10th, it's coming out on the 10th of December. You will hear MHS Sam talk about what these permits actually are. They're not really permits as you would think of them as permits. They're just you putting up 3,000 Rosen every time you're making this report. So we can do a few things here. We can make sure that we have 800 ergs in our wallet and 30,000 Rosen, and we can immediately lock that right here. Okay. Or what I did when I did this is I put in my 800 ergs, I put in 30,000 Rosen, and then I added more Rosen in multiples of 3,000. Okay. So let's say I did 36,000.001 Rosen and I hit lock. It then took my 800 ergs, took my 30,000 Rosen, and took my extra 6,000 Rosen and locked it. And then after about 30 minutes, it then showed that there was 6,000 Rosen tokens locked, and that I had, what's that? 3 divided 6, 3, 6 is 2. I had 2 available reporting permits available. Okay, that's as simple as it is. Once that's up, you just sit and wait and watch your health dashboard. So you can either, again, you can either start it from the PowerShell, you can either start it from Docker, but once it's up, you should be ready to go. You should be ready to lock your tokens. And that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to stop into the Rosen chat. Everybody's very friendly. I can help you out there. Some of the, you may run into a bug, of course, because it's the first public release of this as people are spinning things up, but everybody's very helpful. I think there's a bug with unstaking multiples of your Rosen. I've had no trouble with unstaking mine, so I guess it might depend on your system and how it's built as well, but no issues. Feel free to chime in. Let us know how it goes. Thanks so much, everybody, and I'll see you in chats. Ciao.